it.
All right.
Everybody, do your poppers. It's time to go.
Nectar de l'Amour. Is that the stuff everybody's taking now?
You tell me. You were on the Gay Daddy show.
That is true.
Not me.
I actually got a DM from one of the daddies today. He wanted to break a story.
What a life. Hello, everybody, and welcome into another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. This evening, we will be discussing A Quiet Place Day 1. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me first up from the not very bucolic Bay Area of San Francisco, from the poop capital of the Western world, please welcome Rachel to the show.
Are you jealous? You sound jealous.
Yes, I want to live in a city where I need an app to show me where the human excrement is on the street.
I mean, or you could just make your own. Like, you know.
I've actually always wanted to visit. So, there you go.
I'm glad that's where that sentence ended. I wasn't sure where you were going.
I've always wanted to take a dump on the street, just feel that freedom, you know. Next
Well,
up,
I know just the block.
Next up tonight, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, he's one of those. Please welcome Joe Ferry to the show.
What's going on, everybody?
And last up tonight, from Indiana, land of the corn, please welcome Casey to the show.
We at least bury our poop here.
That's what the outhouse is for.
Yes.
I saw this thing. I just saw an interview with that girl that went viral last week. You
Talk
know
to
what I'm
it?
talking about, yeah. She's like, she quit her job. She trademarked that and now has an agent.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Hey,
Spit on that thing.
if
What a
the
world
door
we live in.
if the door opens, you got to take your shot.
I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
No arguments there. Yeah, we're here tonight to talk about Quiet Place. Rachel, John's not here. Did you kill him when you went to New York City?
Yes, I feasted on him, and now his soul is mine. So
You gentrified him?
exactly. No, but yeah, I got to see John's fancy self and his fancy life in his fancy neighborhood, and I can confirm it is fancy.
Was it everything you'd imagined?
I mean, they handed out monocles as you walk down the street, so
You'll never, like, no one will ever know the joy on our faces when we went to Schnarr's building that one time and he had a doorman. That one time. And then
Yeah.
the doorman started chatting us up and showing us his Instagram because he's like a photographer.
And then he followed us for a long time.
That's true. He did. All right. Well, today, a couple things about today. One, it is July 3rd.
yeah.
So a little hard to get up for July 4th with the current state of the country, but here we are. It is also, I didn't realize it till people started posting the memes. It is the exact 40th anniversary of the day that Return of the Living Dead took place.
Yeah.
July 3rd, 1984, in case you want
All
to
to
feel
celebrate.
in case you want to feel like an ancient desiccated husk.
Yeah.
40 years. So like if you had made, you know, if the same anniversary was happening in 1984, it would be 1944. Which is always a really mind-blowing thing
Yeah,
to think
that's how
about.
time works.
Yeah.
I'm just, when I hear people say that, it always blows my mind. Like the equivalent of 1984 today at that time would have been 1944, which seems like two completely different like galaxies that those two decades happened in. But
Yeah, I feel like I just turned into the brains make the pain go away lady. like my spine is flopping around on a table now.
the pain of being alive.
Well, I mean,
Or
I
dead,
didn't
the
realize
pain
the
of being dead.
wisdom she was
I know, right?
espousing in that moment.
That's a heavy moment in that movie. It really is because it's like I watched it today I watch it like 5 times a year.
Oh.
It's like a very funny, kind of light movie that then has these just like pitch black moments, and that's
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just delightful. I love it.
like
Which is
our
why
heroic
I
Nazis. in the
commemorated
beginning.
it on my arm this year. not realizing it was the 40th anniversary. So there you go.
Very nice.
All right, let's talk about a less fun movie. Let's take a quick break and discuss Quiet Place Day One.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
Here we are, ready to talk about A Quiet Place. I genuinely have zero idea where any of you are going to land on this, and I'm kind of fascinated to find out. But before we do that, Rachel, please bring us the word of the day.
So today's word of the day is one that's personal to me. It's not so much about the movie itself, but the experience that I had while watching it. Today's word of the day is misophonia.
Ah, okay.
So, okay, it is defined as a condition in which one or more common sounds, such as the ticking of a clock, the hum of fluorescent light, or the chewing of popcorn or breathing, can cause atypical emotional responses such as disgust, distress, panic, anger, or as I would say, like unbearable rage, in the affected person hearing the sounds. And its etymology is... it was introduced by the Polish-born American audiologist Paweł de and Margaret. Apparently, yeah. So, and that's it. That's the etymology. No fancy Greek or Roman or whatever. But I can tell you that this movie is one that will teach you about how you feel about the behaviors of others and how much society has fallen into death. I don't know. Like it's rough out
Interesting.
there.
How does one become an audiologist? That sounds like something I'd like to be. I call myself an audio engineer, and that's basically for my day job, and that's basically a made-up term. So, can I just add audiologist?
I won't stop you.
Don't see
Do I
why
need-
not.
Do I need an
Just
MD?
study it. There's theology.
Does
Boom.
Wikipedia count? Just kidding.
I mean, for me tonight, definitely.
Joe, tell me about A Quiet Place Day One.
All right. Quiet Place Day One is the third installment in the Quiet Place series, but is the prequel to the prior two movies. Directed by Michael Samosky, written by Michael Samosky and John Krasinski. This deviates from the characters that the other two movies kind of focused on, and we are kind of plopped right into with a new character, Samara, played by Lupita Nyong'o, who is a terminally ill cancer patient living in a hospice center in New York, outside the city. Ruben, her kind of caretaker, but she points out he is just a fucking nurse. She doesn't curse like that, but she should have. She was very
Oh
impassioned.
man, the psychic damage he takes from that comment is palpable.
It's destroyed.
I mean, yes.
And there's something about seeing Alex Wolff kind of get just ruined in every movie that he does a really good job with it. So good for
I don't know
him.
who that is.
He was the son in Hereditary.
Oh, that's right. I
Oh.
did recognize him. Yes, he is Hereditary guy. Yeah. It was nice to see him in a far less disconcerting film.
Yes. Although, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Samara, or Sam, and her amazing best friend Frodo go with Ruben and a bunch of the other patients at the hospice center to a puppet show in New York City. Lo and behold, as all of this is happening, the asteroid attack with all the creatures from the Quiet Place universe, because we don't know any of their names, and so I'm just going to say it's like a 1950s movie. At that point, they're just the sound creatures. Attacks, and they have to try to survive. They survive kind of the first wave of everything and realize that the government is sequestering everybody to Manhattan by blowing up the bridges, but telling everybody to get to the South Street Seaport for evacuation. Samara finds kind of a new spark in the face of essentially a terminal illness and decides to head upstream to Harlem to get a slice of pizza. And that is A Quiet Place Day One. It's like a very oddly tuned, quiet monster movie. If it was Sam and Frodo heading on a dangerous journey
Quiet Place
against where
plus
they
a
shouldn't.
journey. Yeah.
Oh my god, I just got the Sam and Frodo reference. Shame on me.
All right, Casey, what you got?
So I was worried about this one, because Quiet Place 1 and 2, I enjoyed those quite a bit. We had the precedent set on what those movies are like. And so them going back to the beginning, day one, yada, yada. I was a different director. I was afraid it was going to be kind of cheesy and not fit in well. I ended up being pretty surprised. I enjoyed this quite a bit. It's not movie of the year for me or anything like that, but I thought it was a fun ride. And I was kind of impressed how they worked it into the whole universe. And I thought the way that they presented this invasion and everything, I just kind of enjoyed it more on the world building sense, and seeing like those pulled out shots from the helicopters and watching the creatures crawling over the buildings and stuff. It just kind of worked for me. I was really into Lupita's performance. I was totally sucked into the character of Sam, and I even texted Eric at the beginning. I was watching this. I said, I hope the whole point of this movie is so Sam can get a piece of pizza at the end of the world, and it was. So, yeah, I had a good time, and it's, like I said, not necessarily blown away, but it was a good time watching.
Rachel.
Yeah. So I think I went into this with pretty low expectations because I felt like I really loved the first film. The second film felt like it fell off a little bit for me. So I kind of was not, I don't know, I was kind of not really anticipating this holding up. And I think there are a couple of ways that you can go with a franchise like that. And that's either to go like bigger and more bombastic, which I think is what they did with the sequel, or go smaller and more intimate. And I think it's interesting that while they like moved the action from a small town America to a city, in some ways this movie feels much smaller in scope, and was like much more human, I think, than the last one. And because of that, it was sort of like perfectly calibrated to like get between my ribs. Cats, found family, dad grief, cardigans, like these are all things that I feel very strongly about. And so, even though I have some criticisms about this movie, I do think it was kind of like perfectly pitched for me. Between that and also the casting, I think is really perfect for this, because you need, with so little dialogue and so little time, you have to get on board with one character being someone that you would attach to immediately, and another character being someone who you would allow to attach to you. And I think Lupita has this like natural gravity about her that makes that believable. And Joseph Quinn has this natural vulnerability to him that makes that believable as well. And so they were able to like wordlessly, make that believable for me. I also think that the movie has some interesting ideas of like, it's a survival film ultimately, like that's the genre that we're in. But instead, this sort of flips it on its head by having a character with a terminal illness, so that it like becomes sort of this meditation on, the way we view end of life, that I thought was really interesting. And it had a cat, so yeah.
It's really, I have some cat thoughts. Joe, what do you think?
So the whole Quiet Place series has always kind of been like the Weezer sweater song, like for me. Like, never a big fan of it. The second you start kind of pulling at it, everything fucking falls apart.
That's such a good metaphor. I love it.
And
Sweater
I
song.
I love this one. This is actually my favorite of the three because it took me away from all of the things that they were trying to do in the first one. I could have, yes, I sat there and could have picked apart the fact that after the first attack, you see the beaten down struggle of what's a herd of people walking to the South Street seaport. So clearly they've figured out what's happened and have survived it and know kind of the new rules of the world, but then decide to move in a fucking herd. So there's still these porous holes in the writing and the logic of the world building it's trying to do. But I found myself actually having fun. I did not expect, like, Lupita always brings an amazing performance. Did not expect that to be like her be upped by a cat.
Yeah.
Couldn't the helicopter have like? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'll let you get a
No,
chance
you're
to
fine.
continue. Couldn't the
I'm still thinking about
helicopter
that
have
helicopter.
done what it did, right? Like sent out a message, hey, meet this place. Then once it spread the message, go to the opposite side of Manhattan and just make a bunch of fucking noise and just sit there in the air and make noise.
Yep.
3 or 4 of those and just drag them across the city.
Although I've never wanted to be a helicopter more than being able to fly over New York City, just tell everybody shut the fuck up. Like,
Shut your mouth. Sorry, Joe. Carry on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
yeah, I thought it was like I said, I liked it. Joseph Quinn's like appearance, like it's a odd Frank Capra movie, like comes bouncing out of the water. I thought was super weird. I haven't watched any of Stranger Things.
Is that really
so
how you say water, Joe?
Did I say water?
Oh, you said
No,
Wooter.
you did not. You said a word I'm unfamiliar with.
I can only walk into the same trap once, Eric. Once.
Like a water trap
Something like that.
on a golf course.
But yeah, so Joseph Quinn, he pops up and then is all like kind of puppy dog eyes. I'm disillusioned, broken, have nothing. And so he finds somebody that had that same feeling, but now has the opposite. So thematically, them actually kind of, again, doing the inverse of the other movies. Taking what was supposed to be a focus on what do you do in a world that could be imminent danger, but you need to bring life into it. But now you're in a world that is imminent danger and you were already on your way out. What does that say about you actually being alive at that moment? I thought that was more of an interesting thing to kind of parse through. And then, of course, you realize that, okay, they have tropes that they're kind of filling in. And it seems like they may have like a whiteboard because, of course, they have to have a fucking whiteboard for all of this. So I looked at like the cat. is
Noise
almost as
question
standing as the
mark? I wish I
baby.
could remember what that dumb thing was on the whiteboard in the first one. It's like,
Oh, so I actually recreated that whiteboard at work when they fired one of our VPs in his old office, and they still haven't found it. I'm waiting. There's a new cleaning crew coming in. I just wanted them to be like, what do these people
Lord.
do here? It's like, what is the weakness? Like creatures? 3.
Especially since it's a lamp.
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna be a little bit of a spoiler here this evening, but I'm gonna try to be. I feel like I've got a fairly nuanced take here, which is that I think if you view this film in a vacuum, I don't have a lot to complain about as far as just like what's on the page here and the way it's executed. I think you guys made a lot of great points. The cast really, I mean, Lupita Nyong'o is just amazing. I don't really know that dude, but he was great. I loved their chemistry. It was nice seeing Hereditary guy in a normal movie, I guess. And I feel like viewed in a vacuum, this movie, like 20 years from now, by like what are we gonna call the next generation? Like Mad Max, Generation Mad Max, Generation Fallout, whatever version of humans are left on the Earth, shambling the Earth in 20 years. They pick this up in a vacuum, and I think they're gonna be like, hey, that's a pretty good little like horror film. My beef is like a little more esoteric, and that is that, like, just put on a really simple level, watching this for the third time, I truly don't give a fuck. I do not care to watch the same film 3 times. I think that they smartly changed the setting and they add like in a more of a journey. I think that was like the biggest thing that just kills the second film is like there's a little bit of a journey and then they just end up in this like sewer hole basically for the whole fucking movie. It's just, even in New York City, even with all the changing of the set dressing and the character stuff, I'm still watching you fucking pull up the cloth or you pull away you look at the matrix of it all. I'm still just watching a bunch of fucking characters moving around, trying to be quiet. Then someone makes a noise. Then the monsters descend. Then we freak out. They maybe snatch one unlucky person. Then they find it. They make another noise to distract the monster, and then it quiets down. And then we walk for more time. We do more quiet shit. Maybe the characters find a waterfall, or maybe in this case, whatever the fuck, a fountain to sit next to so they can talk. Then they move away. Then someone makes a noise. Then the fucking monsters come. I felt like I was losing my fucking mind watching this movie, and it bored the shit out of me. Like, I just don't fucking care. That is my hot ass take about this movie. I am flabbergasted that they made 3 movies and have made the choice to not introduce a single bit of any extra tantalizing context about what the fuck is happening in these movies.
Did you not
Now-
see the fungus?
I already hear that that's not enough. Although I have questions because they don't even address it. We just
Well,
watch
you know
it
it's
happen.
coming up in the next one. You know, like
Oh, thank God. I have to watch
Yeah.
this again. I can't
Yep,
wait to
you
watch
sure
more
do.
people fucking tiptoe around and then someone kicks over a bottle and then they freak out. Like, now, I already hear the neckbeards being like, not every movie needs mythos. And yes, I agree with you. The first Quiet Place did not need mythos. I'll even buy that the second one maybe didn't. By the third one, if you don't give me something more than we eat the fungus pudding and no one explains it, I need something larger, or I just do not give 2 shits. Like, what I kept thinking of that I wanted was something like, even like a 10 Cloverfield Lane, where you get that little tantalizing bit that just busts open the whole world at the end and recontextualizes the whole thing. Like, to me, the way that they fly in and crash like missiles makes them feel like a form of kind of like bio warfare. Like there's some kind of attack, like directed attack happening on Earth. Give me more. Give me their masters. Have the Predators show up and be like, ha, it was us all along. Like, I just felt like I was watching the same movie for the 3rd time. And I think I'm bored to shit watching people be quiet. And if you can't get into that, it's the whole fucking thing, dude. Like, I think even with Lupita Nyong'o's amazing performance, I'm still just like, I was crawling in my seat in this movie. I wanted it to end so bad. Is how I feel. The one exception I will say is that I think they nail the final scene. The final scene of her distracting them, him running, and I just loved the image of him jumping, and in particular, them being like swinging their arms, trying to like catch him and just missing him. That was like brilliant stagecraft, honestly. Like, I just thought that was great. But that was about 78 minutes after I had checked out. So it wasn't really enough to like pull me back in. But I also don't really disagree with anything you guys said. Like, I think a lot of the individual aspects of it are executed very well.
Did you have your Metamucil this week?
I take it about once a week. I probably
You sound a little grumpy.
I was in a pretty good mood. I'm in a good mood today.
I'm just
bored as
busting your
shit, dude.
chops.
I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I think that's fair. I think my criticism of this movie is I feel like it's kind of the same one I had about what were the Paranormal Activities, where like at some point they just stopped being scary. They weren't scary
Yeah.
anymore, and then I needed the story to live up to it. And in this case, there's like maybe 1 or 2 scenes that are a little bit tense, but for the most part, I was kind of just here to watch the evolution of their relationship, and that really landed for me. I think if you're going into this looking for a tense horror experience, we're past that now. Like, we all know the rules of this universe. We've seen the monsters revealed. There are a
Like,
little,
we know she's not
yeah.
gonna die. We think he might. You're like, he could probably die. Well, I mean, like, but she's not gonna kill by a monster an hour into the movie. Like, you
Right.
just know that, so it drains those scenes of all attention. I feel like.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the point I meant to make earlier, but I'd forgotten. But you're not wrong, because while I did enjoy the ride of this movie, it is lock, stock, standard alien invasion movie in the city. There's nothing different from, that we've seen before whatsoever. So you add in the quiet factor and stuff like that, it definitely makes it. I can see where it becomes even more challenging because you're taking something that's average and putting kind of a weird, boring layer on it.
I also have beef with the cat. And here's why. I've
right,
never
here
in
we
my
go.
life heard a cat that was in danger not make some kind of noise. Now, they're not dogs, but they definitely will hiss, meow. Like there is a goddamn monster at times in the room with this cat, and the cat's just like,
If
like,
it was my cat, I'd be dead by 5 p.m. because that's when he gets hungry and starts screaming at me.
right. You mean to tell me over the course of weeks this cat doesn't make a single sound? I know they're not loud animals, but it doesn't take much. It takes nothing. Like a purr will, you know.
I mean, it's a service cat, and like
That's
one of
true.
my cats
There's
is
training
naturally
there.
super chatty. One of them is really, really quiet. Like he talks because I have like taught him to. Meowing is not like actually how cats communicate with each other. It's a learned behavior between cats and humans. Like they meow at their mother, and then they grow out of it. They like all communication is like with body language essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and if you've ever seen a cat that's like, a cat has gotten out and it's scared, what they do is they lay low and they go silent. That is what they do. I mean, if confronted, they will hiss and puff up. But for the most part, cats are actually very, very quiet, especially when they're threatened. The director said he specifically didn't have the cat hissing and stuff because he didn't want CGI. And you have to actually you can't train a cat to hiss. You have to actually scare it and traumatize it. So that's why there's no hissing in the movie.
I will defer to you as the cat expert, but that was my
Yeah, I should have worn my cat lady shirt. No, but like cats would do a much better job of surviving in a situation like this than dogs. Like it's a wrap for dogs because they are pretty barky.
Absolutely. Or even just
But-
like the clicky of their like nails when they're walking around. My dog weighs 8 pounds and you could hear him like a mile away, just like click, 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 click.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've heard your dog. We know your dog.
Yeah,
His
yeah,
voice.
literally everyone here has, yeah, including the listeners.
But I don't know. I liked the cat. I mean, I liked it as a metaphor, for the character. But I also, in a movie that did not have a lot of stakes at this point, like you said, like we were pretty confident Lupita was going to make it for at least most of the runtime. She might get like a John Krasinski final act death. But when there's a vulnerable animal on screen, that does ramp up the tension a bit.
By God, when they went through that underwater tunnel and came out, and Joseph Quinn crawled out first, my first reaction was, "Oh God, tell me they got the cat."
No, my first reaction was like, was there poop in there?
I wondered about that too.
That's fair.
And actually, like, you ever tried to swim with one arm incapacitated, with just holding something? Like, I was in a pool last week, and I had there was like a lacrosse thing, and I had the ball in my hand, and I was trying to just swim with the other hand. I'm like, I'd be dead in 5 seconds trying to carry this thing in the water. And he does it in like the East River, or whatever the hell that was, like with the cat at the end.
Yeah. There's no way that cat wasn't fighting him on the swim out to that
No
boat,
shit.
right?
Yeah, dude. Right. Like,
That was the other thing. Like my cat would have scratched my face. I would have all sorts of infections.
Yeah.
Like I'd be making sounds because I'd be crying.
We've all talked about how good Lupita is in this movie, but it really can't be overstated that the introduction of her character at the beginning, as we see her character unfold and everything, and then by the time we get into the city and things start happening, and her friend from old movie told her we can't go get pizza, and I'm like, I texted Eric at that point. I'm like, I really hope this is about her getting pizza, because I felt for her, because you knew it was her last hurrah. That's what she needed, and it was just so well written and presented to us by her. I was just kind of astounding on how well she pulls us into this movie, which could otherwise be kind of boring with somebody else.
Yeah.
Joe,
I
are you
think-
in trouble for podcasting with us?
No, not at all. Laura was sneaking by trying to switch out laundry. She was being very quiet, so she probably would have survived this movie. Me, I would have let one rip when I was bending over grabbing the
Right.
basket, and all of a sudden you just see
Flatulence
two
is a
arms coming out of it.
problem. Stuff in your pockets is a problem.
Oh, I would be dead so fast in this world.
Loud walkers,
Eric's heard me sleep without my CPAP. I'm dead.
Oh.
allergies. Yeah.
I mean, I'm so jumpy, and so like, if you ever get to watch a scary movie with me in person, I'm the jumpiest, screamiest person. Every jump scare, like all my friends have imitations that they do of me. It would be the minute the aliens did anything, I would have been dead. It would have been over.
Did you jump at this movie?
Yeah, there was one point that got me. There was like one.
Wouldn't
There was
these
one
things-
effective jump scare. Yeah.
One thing that kind of bothers me about these things, for one, they look their heads. You know, their heads like kind of splay open.
Yes,
they
I
look
don't
like
like it.
bloomin' onions. Is
Yeah.
what they look like. They look exactly like bloomin' onions. Just next time you see it, think about it. It just feels like their hearing is so sensitive. Why can't they hear people breathe?
Yeah.
Heartbeat. Like
Yeah, heartbeats. Like we literally zoom
Exactly.
in.
Yeah.
They make it a point to zoom in and on their like little hearing organs, and we sort of feel how sensitive they are. But it's like there seems to be a threshold under which they cannot hear.
Yeah. I mean, it's the sweater. It's the Weezer sweater. We can pull this thing apart. But was it a good sit? Like, did you have a good time while you were watching it? I think that's the end of the day. Like,
I did not.
yeah.
I did like some of the little aspects of this that they threw in here, like when she first found the kids in the park and they'd hold up underneath that fountain with the running water. I'm like, oh, that's a cool little idea. And they did had a couple little tiny moments like that where
That's from the first film. They sit under a waterfall. That's how they talk to each other in the first film.
that's
It's a
true. I
waterfall.
forgot about that. But
I rolled my eyes, and they're like still in the back of my head.
I didn't think about that, but I also liked it too, and they probably did that in the early movies as well. But when her and Joseph Quinn were sitting in the thunderstorm, and they'd scream every time the thunder hit, just to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Can someone, for people listening who maybe are listening but didn't watch the movie, can someone explain this eating scene that we saw, this feeding scene, and then can someone explain to me what you got from that scene?
I mean, I feel like it's setting something up in terms of, because we end this.
Can you
movie-
describe it though for listeners, like what we're actually talking about?
Yeah, so Joseph Quinn's character is following the cat because the cat's kind of run off, and he stumbles on this area where there's this field of what it looks like some sort of like fungus is growing, and the aliens come over and start breaking them open and eating them. And there was also, I don't know, I didn't catch this, but the person I was with noticed that the scale of one of the aliens was quite a bit larger. Did you catch that, Joe?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
different types.
So I think the purpose of that scene essentially was we got Joseph Quinn's character to see it, and then the movie ends with him on the boat with Jaimon Unsu's character, who we know shows up in the second film. So I'm thinking that was just kind of leading
He was in
into
the
whatever.
second film.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was the one that was on the island that was kind of like running that island.
The only thing I remember about the island is at the end when the one gets on the island and just rips shit up, because it's one of the better scenes in that movie.
Yeah.
I did
So
not remember
he's-
he was in it though.
Yeah, he's kind of like the leader of that like community on that island. So I think we're setting
So-
up something for 3 where we're going to
Even though this is like day one, are we to believe that this was post the island,
no.
No,
No, it's pre.
or they go to the island from?
That's probably
here
where they're
They're
headed.
gonna go.
That's-
they're going
yeah.
to the island.
That's where they're headed.
Yeah.
which brings up bigger questions, because is Joseph Quinn and the cat there? I thought for like a hot second, I was like, you know what? Do I watch 2 to see if the cat is actually in it? I was like, no, it's not worth it.
I doubt it, but
That
it
would be pretty sick if it was
that would
the
be.
cat
Yeah.
origin story. But what does the eating thing mean? Like they're eating this like weird bulbous like gross sack looking shit, and they just rip it
Well-
open and they're all eating it. And he sits.
Don't kink
First of
shame.
all, no way in fucking hell am I following that cat. When I peek my head over the top and see that scene, I'm like, hell no, bitch. This cat is dead. Like fuck it.
That's what I was thinking.
I could not
I'd hate to
believe
do
he
it,
rolls
but
into that scene after that. But
Me, I was like, oh my god, my ovaries.
you know,
Get the
they're
cat.
like they're eating this stuff, and that's it. Really,
I
right?
thought-
that's all that happened.
I
at
mean,
the,
as I was watching it, I was trying to figure out, because I too am wondering, like, what is the motivation for these aliens? I mean, what are they doing, and why would they come to a planet with a bunch of water? And I was thinking about something like panspermia, essentially, and I'm wondering if they're just like scattered to the universe as opposed to targeting places. And what we're seeing is the beginning of world building around like terraforming.
yeah,
that
they're
was
spreading
kind of-
there.
That's kind of what I was.
That
picking up
seems
from
like a
it.
great plot for, say, like a third film in a series.
Well, This is
Yeah.
technically a prequel.
Not a fourth, fifth, and sixth one that they're gonna make me sit through probably now.
To piggyback on that a little bit and what you said earlier, Eric, because I thought about it when you saw how many were in the city and you kind of get an idea of like, okay, first two take place in this area of the country where there's only 3. And so you can see they're kind of spread out. I immediately thought, like, oh, is it actually supposed to be kind of a coordinated attack where they're actually sending more to like highly populated areas, like urban areas?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like enough that you would not be able to like actually combat it without cutting off the way they did.
Well, it's almost
am
like
I-
a fungus, right?
Like spores.
Yeah.
Am I
little
to
bit.
take away from this film that they were all trapped on the island? Because it's like a while before they bomb those bridges. Like, did you guys come away with the thought that they had actually successfully trapped all of them on the
Yeah,
island?
well,
by
they
bombing
showed
the
that-
bridges? Because it's
No.
a while before they take the bridges out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the aliens definitely, I think, got out.
Yeah, I mean, well, we saw that where somebody's listening to the radio and they're like marking things on that globe. Do you
Yeah.
remember this in the theater
Yeah,
before
in the basement.
before Hereditary dies?
Yeah. Hereditary.
Poor Alex Wolf.
No, I love him. It's weird that like his IMDb is wild because it's like this Hereditary, other really artsy fartsy movies,
I think-
and then the Jumanji films.
Yeah.
Again, like I think even if the world expansion had happened at the very end and just given me something to expand my view of this a little bit, I think even that would have helped for me save it a little. 3 movies, dude. Give me fucking something.
It's
Give me
about the
something.
human struggle in the face of overwhelming force from outer space.
Oh, fuck, I don't care.
If you're apathetic about it, it just doesn't matter, and you can just have
Yeah.
a good time. I was just sitting there watching my son have fun and be scared. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Very basal level.
Yeah. I don't know. Joseph Quinn, actually really surprised. I mean, I liked him in Stranger Things. He was great, whatever.
Who is he in
But-
Stranger Things?
He's
Eddie.
Eddie?
And the
Like
and
the
the,
Hesher guy that shows up
the
in the
last
most
season
recent
that just aired.
I made it.
Everybody
through.
wears that shirt that he wore with like
Yeah,
was
the
it
Hellfire
the
Club.
He
Hellfire
played
Club?
he played the Metallica solo
recognize
to
the
distract the
Hellfire-
bats.
I recognize that shirt. I made it through 3 episodes of season 2 and was like, I don't care for this.
Same. Did any of you have an issue? His accent kept coming in and out for me. I didn't.
What's
at
his
first, I was like,
accent? Oh,
He's
he's supposed to be
British.
British in the movie. What is
Isn't
he
he
really?
actually
Yeah.
British?
Yeah, he's British.
he
I
is
thought.
actually British, but there was times I was like, wait a minute, it sounded American, and at first it sounded like he was supposed to be just an American. It could have just been absolutely me just mishearing it, but it sounded like his own accent was coming in and out, and I want to see if I'm the crazy one, which I likely am.
I mean, I didn't notice it, but, was he saying things like water?
He didn't say crumpets, I'll say that much.
Oh, well, then he's out. It's over. Nice try, buddy. But yeah, I think he is British in real life, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest, my favorite scene in this movie, and it's schmaltzy as hell, but I freaking love that scene when they were holding up in that club and they did
Yeah.
the silent magic show. That was beautiful.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm kind of weepy because I'm under the weather, but I had so many feelings at the end of this
Yeah.
movie.
So,
that I am. It's true, but I told you, Eric, I'm texting you today. I'm crying. But when she gives him the sweater, the significance of the sweater, the significance of the pizza, all of that stuff, really landed for me because it was, at the end of the day. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just reminded myself. Where did he get the pizza? I know he went to that pizza place, but did he fire up the ovens and make the pizza?
Oh,
or
no, I
has it
think
been
that was
sitting
the
there for 4 days?
no, it's been sitting there.
Yeah, it's just some
New
old
York
ass
City
pizza,
it'll hold.
Yeah.
right?
It's not that moist.
But I love the moment where she eats it and she's like, it's not that good. I don't know, those little human moments made that dynamic in the relationship with them really feel real to me and impactful.
If I was, I'll just put it this way: if I was in the apocalypse and that pizza was on, it's probably under some kind of in a glass case or something, 4 days,
into
I'd
it.
eat that shit.
Hell
It's
yeah.
the worst
Oh,
that
yeah.
can happen.
Yeah. I mean,
Give
yeah,
me the
right?
runs.
Like,
I'm literally trying not to get eaten by monsters. Like, who gives a shit?
I like, from what you said, Rachel, I like the counterpoint of that from when they first met, because it felt like for those good 2 minutes that he didn't even talk to her because he was so timid when she first found him.
yeah.
And he just started. She convinced him to follow her, but he was still terrified, and he wouldn't really talk to her until you get to the end of this arc, and they're so close. It was a
Yeah.
fun journey to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I did really invest in that relationship. Like when he went out, like after being so terrified and having these panic attacks, when he saw her in pain and he like went and got her meds, like all that kind of stuff really hit for me. And I also think that the final scene of this, like the final scene of her walking through the city, listening to the music, and then like
Oh.
accepting death on her own terms was actually really incredible because these movies are survival movies. Like the only way to quote unquote win is to either survive or you can make a sacrifice. You can sacrifice yourself like John Krasinski does in the first film. So this one, I think, is a much more interesting, nuanced take because it gave us a character right from the beginning whose mortality was like such a part of who they were as a character. And what does it mean to be at the end of the world? And when you know that you like your mortality is so present, and it was about her kind of coming back to life in a way before finally leaving on her own terms, which I thought was like really powerful and thoughtful for a movie that is ultimately an alien invasion film. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
a sucker. I don't know.
It's nice too because they changed up this typical alien invasion movie ending, like you said, where there's usually a big sacrifice and there's lots of explosions and the whole stoic moment where the guy makes a speech and runs off, and it's slow mo
No.
and crap like that. It was her. I just loved her walking out into the street with her headphones in and then unplugging that, and it was like that was the perfect ending for her.
Also, the way that they communicated at the end when she like gives him the cat, like all of that kind of like it goes against the tropes where he'd be
Yeah.
like, no, don't, like there was an understanding between the two of them because of the situation that she was in, that like he let her go and let her go out on her own terms and let her be heroic in that way. I don't know. I really loved it. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm sorry you didn't like it. That's
You
such a
don't-
bummer.
You don't need to like it for me,
That's true.
and I'm pretty okay with not liking it.
I just feel sad that you didn't get, as much out of it, I guess.
Again, it's like I do think in a vacuum, it's pretty decent. I just can't view it in a vacuum. I'm broken.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Rachel, was I the type of person annoying you by eating popcorn throughout the movie and not?
Oh yeah. What was your
giving a shit?
misophonia?
Well, there was the person that was taking calls in the
Oh.
in the
What
in-
the
like he had the
fuck?
flasher like ringtone on, like so it wasn't ringing out loud, but it was flashing, and he was taking calls.
I didn't even know that's a thing.
Oh, it's a thing, my friend, and it
Like
is
the
very
light flashes?
distracting. Yeah. So it like
Holy
strobes.
Christ.
It strobes, and then he like was like quietly taking calls,
That's
and just
insane.
like it's one of those things where it's not even that a lot of people are not being rude. They're just like having their popcorn, they're having their drinks or whatever, and you don't realize how loud those things are until the movie is so quiet that you become hyper fixated on sound. And if you're sensitive to it, it's tough. It could be tough. So
I
for the
went-
most part, it was people where I was like, "This is a me problem," but then there was that one guy.
I saw it in the
front row.
haunted theater in the specific theater where like it just looks like they smeared grease over the lens. Like everything's cloudy on the
Oh,
screen.
that's a bummer.
It's crazy. Yeah, I kind of like. I know what I'm getting into when I go to that one. I can leave at showtime from my house and still make it before the movie starts. Like, so if I'm just like whatever that day, that's where I'm going. Like this weekend for X, I'm definitely going. I'll drive like 30 minutes to the nice theater probably.
Yeah, you want to see that on a good screen. It's a
Yeah,
cool
I don't want to
looking
be
movie.
frustrated by
Although-
screen bullshit.
To be fair, this is a really great looking movie, so that's kind of a bummer. Like, I love that scene where they emerge from the subway into the church where everybody is praying. Like, it's actually beautiful. Did we talk about this? I don't know. Like I said, I'm high as a kite. Did we talk about that? This is from the director of Pig.
No.
Oh, we didn't talk about it, but it is.
Yeah,
Did I
like
see that movie?
it's the Nicolas Cage film where he has the truffle
Oh.
pig
No, I did not.
that gets taken. Oh my
Greatest
God.
film about like the spirit of cooking for another person ever made.
It is incredible.
And Alex Wolff is in it.
Oh, you're right, Alex Wolff. That's right. He plays like the douchey like food critic guy, right? Yeah. No, but
He's kind of like the go-to between. He would go to get the truffles with Nicolas Cage and his dad. Yeah.
yes. But like both of these films have that element of like that beautiful humanizing relationship connection to humanity through a pet that really effectively like this guy knows how to like reach
He's
in
got a
between the
thing.
ribs and like really grab a hold of my heart.
Did John Krasinski actually co-write it, or is he getting like characters by credit? Is it hard to tell?
I'm not
Usually,
all
like
I'm
either
seeing is
story by or
written
characters
by-
by means just like he gets his
Like-
credit.
yeah, like Brian
Alright, so-
Woods I think is just characters.
I think
Yeah.
he
It's
did
a
have
story
some.
by.
Yeah,
Story by is like
because it's a sequel to his
that would just be
project.
residual stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and Samofsky or Cernovsky wrote the screenplay. So
Word up. A Quiet Place. All right. Would you recommend this, Casey?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes, when it comes out on video. Give yourself a chance to not be enraged. And just enjoy it.
Joe?
yes, just don't care about anything in the universe.
What better time to take that stance than right now, Joe? I'm a no. I'm a hard pass. And there it is. All right, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Send
feel like you need to
feedback
become,
to
like, an
info at
investor in the haunted
bloodygoodhorror.com
theater at this
or on
point.
Twitter using hashtag
Like some sort of
AskBGH.
benefactor. It'd be like
Join Patreon to get back episodes
Eric.
and much more.
I did consider
Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
like writing. I think it's a Regal, maybe. I considered writing headquarters of whatever company owns this theater and being like, guys, this place is fucked. Like, can you please fix this?
tear
I
the
think-
fuck out of it.
But I wasn't sure, like, is that like a franchise deal where, right? Like, is it just this franchise has no money and the main company won't care? But
No.
like, it's really a travesty. The whole theater, every room in that theater is fucked up. The staff sucks. It's terrible.
My Regal Theater is probably like a step above your haunted Regal Theater. They've got like their staff is like 4 people in the like on a Friday night at 7 p.m., etc.
I've never seen more than 2 people working at this theater.
Yeah.
It's small though, but still, like,
You guys got to go check out the Regal in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's their flagship Regal. It's insane.
ooh,
There's a fucking slide from the arcade on the second floor to the front, like the front door of the building.
that sounds
Nice.
amazing.
I went down it.
I would.
The front door of the building. That's what I'm gonna push people who are like taking calls in the theater. I'll be like, boom, down the slide you go.
I also would have done that. You can't not, right? Go down it.
Yeah. Like,
But yeah,
where am I gonna be here
so
again?
this week, right, we got Maxine coming out. I'll drive to the bougie town, a couple towns over, where the bougie people live. They have the good theater,
Yeah.
so I can't wait.
Excited to see what you guys think.
I'm pumped. All right. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. Caitlin in Kissimmee doing her re-listen of some old episodes. She says, episode 251. John, I don't know what that is. Eric, Fago question mark? John, yes.
I just learned what Fago was.
You did?
I thought
Really?
you were about to pull out a can. It tastes terrible.
Aren't they from Philly? Aren't they Philly? Or no, where are they from?
Well, where's Insane Clown Posse from? Isn't that Michigan?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Is it
Yes.
Ohio?
Oh, maybe.
Because isn't like the
Detroit,
guy? I
they're
just
from
watched a
Detroit.
movie called Off Ramp, literally about 2 guys heading to the gathering of the Juggalos, and that's where I learned
Amazing.
what Fago
A
was.
movie or a
That
documentary?
movie, and it is fucking fantastic. Didn't think I'd actually like it. It's like, you want to talk about a movie so full of heart? That movie's got it.
Really?
It's insane.
Interesting.
I have a weird fascination with anything related to like not the band, but like the fandom is fascinating to me.
We'll talk about we'll talk.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that made me laugh. John didn't know what Fago was.
I wonder how many times through Caitlin and Kissimme's been through the backlogs.
She's mentioned it before. It's like 9 or 10. It's like something insane.
I will feel like I have officially arrived when I get
And
a
let's-
Caitlin and Kissimmee quote. That is when, like,
There you go.
it's over.
You know, multiple times she's been through 750 plus episodes. So I think we're in the 770s now or the 760s or something.
750. We're almost to 760.
Yeah. She also wrote in to say that Dr. Giggles is on Shudder. I have heard tell that it might be the selection on the last drive-in this week, which would be incredible. I would love to hear Joe Bob talk about Dr. Giggles. So,
Oh, that'd be fun.
man, that was one of my favorites as a kid. I rented it all the time. I then bought that VHS when that store went out of business, like from them. I just fucking loved it so much.
It's a good poster.
Great artwork. Larry Drake was playing another weirdo.
I'm glad
All
you
right.
said that because I was actually thinking about firing it up after we got done.
So somebody said the same thing on Twitter, and Darcy said, you might want to wait. And they had teased that this week's theme was medical school because it's like
Okay.
summer school right now. So I'm guessing that's what it is, but it should be sweet. All right, Casey, what do we got on Threads?
All right, we got a couple out there. First up, Popcorn.Designs. What meal from what restaurant would you choose as your last?
Man, let's say, right, because it's my last meal, so I'm just going to eat whatever I want, regardless of how much it's going to hurt.
Fruit plate at Bob Evans.
What?
Took me a second. I was like, what? I
That was
would go.
bleak.
Can I have multiple meals?
I mean, it's your last one. Why not?
I would get some like really good sushi, and then I would get some like New York pizza and a beer. Just real simple.
Sounds delicious.
I would need like a DoorDash gift card to do it that way because I'd want like some hash brown casserole from Cracker Barrel, maybe some extra crispy KFC, just for one final go. And
It's funny because I read an article recently that a lot of states have stopped doing this, like the last meal thing, which is kind of crazy because I always thought that for like executions.
Oh.
Because I always thought that was like such an interesting quirky part of executions.
yeah,
And I recently was served on Instagram a guy's account who goes through the last meals of like people who were executed, and he makes them himself and then rates them.
oh, I'd seen that
Holy
one.
shit. That is dark.
I love
That
it.
is dark.
Kind of respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of. I appreciate that dedication there.
100%.
I don't know. I probably just like go to my favorite Ethiopian restaurant and eat all the things and not share with
Ethiopian
anybody.
food, interesting.
I'm trying to think if you could have. I don't know if it's gluten-y or not, but it is.
It's probably real spicy, I would guess.
Oh yeah, it's spicy.
I don't do any spice. I can't.
But
I'm
it's your
on the
fight.
opposite
What
end
are you talking about? This is the last one.
Yeah, okay.
So you can unleash
so
the
here's the
beast.
caveat.
You don't have to worry
like,
about the Ring of Fire.
Yep.
how soon after the meal will I be dead? Because if it's like an hour, that's enough time where I can be real fucked up. I don't want to feel shitty before I die. I want to
think
finish
you-
this meal and
Yeah. I
like
think it's like humane. Like you take that
Like
last,
last
bite, then
bite?
you lay down.
you just stand there with the gun and just wait, and I'll tell you when.
Yeah.
Get that last bite down, enjoy the carb rush for like 10 seconds, and then take me out.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like an execution situation, it'd be like a 5-gallon bucket of Skyline chili, and they could deal with the aftermath.
Oh my God, Casey.
I swear I read a similar story to that once, that there was somebody who had like they specifically downed a bunch of ice cream because they were lactose intolerant, and it was like their final revenge on the way out.
All right.
I
That's
can
a good
respect
for
that
them.
energy.
Well,
Yeah.
that was
Before
a dark
you,
thread.
I'm gonna go Sichuan Chinese from a place called Han Dynasty in the city. It's like the best, the spiciest. It's so good. It's so spicy you can't drink alcohol with it. Otherwise, it just inflames everything. So you have to do water.
I literally saw a meme on Threads today, and it was like a text thread with some girl and her mom, and her mom had got the credit card statement and got mad at her daughter and was yelling at her, "What did you buy at Handy Nasty?" And the daughter's like, "What?" And she showed her the receipt, Handy Nasty. And the daughter's like, "Mom, that's Han Dynasty."
But you can get a handy nasty while you're there.
Next door, yeah. Joe, every time you say Wooder, it makes me think of Wooderson from Dazed and Confused. I just think of Matthew McConaughey every time I say it.
All right.
I don't.
Do you think his name is really Watterson?
It probably is.
It might be.
It's
Deep
like
thoughts.
the opposite of misophonia for me. Every time you say it, I'm like, ooh.
It's like,
All right.
isn't it the opposite of misophonia, like ASMR?
Yeah,
Wouldn't
I
that be
guess
the
so.
opposite?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Pure
Oh, well, I
pleasure
found
through
my thing.
audio?
It's not cutting up soap. It's Joe saying water.
All right, Metal Prof says, anyone want to help me bankroll A Quiet Place Happy July 4th, motherfuckers, because 90 minutes of monsters ripping heads off people who scare my dogs with their booms all night would be super.
Dude, thank God. I mean, I should probably knock on wood because tonight's probably the night.
Yeah.
I hate fireworks. I live in the burbs. I hate all people that insist on lighting fireworks off. I think it's an incredibly boorish and rude thing to do. I think if you're gonna do it, you do it at 9 p.m. and you wrap it up by 9:30. If I hear that shit at 11, you are dead to me. As a
You would
human.
not
the
like
most
my neighborhood. The
puritanical
4th of July
shit I've
starts
ever
on
heard.
around May
No, Joe.
15th.
In my America, no fireworks ever.
Yeah, I have to go once we get done here to see if Aggie the Beagle actually finished her dinner yet because of the neighbors with the freaking fireworks.
Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand how it can be that fun to light up fireworks every day for literally. I'm
What
not
I
kidding.
can't
Since
deal with.
May.
I was just chatting with somebody about this, like, and I think we were talking with Ariel about it last week, but like in 2020, when like the whole country was insane, like you talk to people from different places, they'd be like, "Yeah, I've been hearing fireworks for months. Like, what is happening?"
Oh yeah.
It's what really bugs me in these nights though is like it's the sporadicness. It's like gives you PTSD because you're just waiting for the next mortar to go off while you're just trying to watch TV or something. Like, can we all just agree on a 25-minute block where everyone lights them off all at once, and we can just hide if we need to or whatever? Like, it's the just sporadic and random for hours and days on end that just like kills me.
Oh,
You're talking about like the
And-
purge for fireworks.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
isn't that what
firework
4th of
activity is
July
legal from
is?
9 to 9:30 p.m.
Yes.
And then and then after that you will be executed, arrested, and murdered.
Yeah.
It's
See,
it's reverse purge.
I'm a bit more lenient. I'll give you to like 10:30. But
Joe,
that's
you're being
when you wrap it
awfully
up.
Joe, you're being awfully cagey during this discussion right now. I have a feeling you have a confession.
Oh no, my dog. I was thinking. I had a friend's dog that passed away because of fireworks. It got so scared and it had a heart attack in a bathtub. So
Oh
I
my
started thinking
god.
about that.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I hate
My
this.
dog Sushi is terrified of them, so this week ends up being kind of a goddamn nightmare.
My current dog, who's currently hacking his lungs up, he gets scared, but it's not that extreme. My old dog would I would joke, she would literally, if she could find a way to crawl up your ass after
Yeah.
loud noises, she would.
Yeah, Aggie hides in the corner and literally puts her forehead on the wall in the corner like a.
The worst jump scare I ever
Cartoon.
got in my life, I was living in Florida. This was years ago, and I was sitting in a chair watching a horror movie, and the like Florida afternoon thunderstorm is kind of rolling through, and it started with like a crack of thunder, and I didn't know she was underneath the chair, and she popped up like a spring-loaded thing, like. So I didn't even know she was there. She popped straight up between my vision and the television into my lap, and almost gave me a heart attack. Like, I almost lost my mind.
Yeah. I mean, I like not to be dark, but also in this era of like mass shootings, it doesn't feel great when you're out on the streets and someone's lighting off fireworks. When Matilda and I went to that Maxine screening last week in San Francisco, we were walking to the theater and somebody just let off a firework. We practically hit the ground.
Well, now look,
Yeah.
right. Is it fair to say you live in a place where like that might be a gun potentially? Right?
all the time, and it usually is a mix. Yes.
Right. So like,
Like,
loud
we-
noises is not great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like usually it's fireworks followed by a little bit of like
So-
applause.
My parents live near here, and they have a dude on their block. He's just kind of sketchy in general. He's got a constant year-round quote unquote garage sale going on where he only sells golf clubs, and he puts up signs all over town, and we're convinced that he's a drug dealer. Because like, what, you're just like a golf club dealer? It's really bizarre.
I wonder
But
what you get if you ask for a putter or a driver.
He puts on at just like way over the top fireworks show every year, just randomly in his driveway, super unsafe. And he thinks it's okay because he goes around to the neighborhood. He's like, "Hey, it's cool, right? Like, just blah blah blah. Blah. It'll be like 9. Like, bring your family." Like, he thinks because he kind of like tries to glad hand everybody that everybody's cool with it. But it's like a 45-minute show. And the one year I was there with my kids, my at the time like 6-year-old daughter fell asleep in the middle of the fireworks show because it was so long. She got bored. She was like, "Can I go to bed? Like, do I have to listen to this right now?" Oh my god.
That's your kid.
All right.
She gets like she gets overstimulated in the exact same way that I do.
You're like, no DNA required.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the drummer for Foghat. How screwed would you be if your survival was based on staying quiet? Pretty sure my expectancy is short thanks to snoring.
I mean, I can't even make it through the music bumpers without talking. You really think I'm going to make it in a quiet place world?
I would have a farting problem for sure. A sighing problem. I sigh a lot. A yawn.
I wouldn't make it long either, but I can tell you my future son-in-law, he's practically Foghorn Leghorn, so he'd be dead instantly.
You know what they never do in these movies is show somebody like hit their hip on a drawer or like hit their funny
Stub their
bone
toe.
or like that bone on the side of your heel, or on the side of your foot that hurts so bad when you hit it and just scream fuck because you can't control it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
That's what I
that'd
wanna
definitely be me. I'm clumsy as hell, so it would be me in that quiet
I
afterlife
guess there
tripping
is-
over
there's-
shit.
There's some kind of bit in the first one where
steps on the nail.
she steps on a nail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. But I want it to be sillier. I want it to be one of those things where like you just bump yourself a little bit, but it hurts so bad you get over the top mad, and then you feel embarrassed about how mad you got. That's what I want. But then I want the monsters to come.
I just do the thing where I like kick something and then I just like silently rage walk around on it. So I'd probably be okay on that front.
You just choke it down. That sounds good.
Yep. Just writhe quietly.
Oh my god.
All right, this last thread here comes from a new person we haven't heard from before, and this is going to be a good question for you, Rachel, with your recent travels, and you too, Eric. Since this movie, Jimmy Lilly says, since this movie is set in New York, as a person never been to the U.S., what are the must-see landmarks and hidden gems in New York City for first-time visitors?
I've been in New York 3 times in my life. So
I've been
I'm not really
once.
the person to ask.
So, like, if you're there visiting a long-term resident, they're not going to want to take you to Times Square, but it's worth seeing.
This is Casey's story because we went and all he wanted to do was see Times Square, and John was so against it.
He's
Yeah.
He was
"No."
like offended by the request.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
then-
cool. It's kind of cool.
But then Eric and I bailed out earlier than John and Mark and Joe, and we took the cab back, and they took us through Times Square. And Eric, I loved Eric's story. We were watching me look out the window, misty-eyed, as I went through Times Square.
Yeah, I will say though, I was a little underwhelmed by it because like it's just a street with a bunch of ads. Like it feels so
Yeah.
much like because you normally just see it on New Year's Eve. It feels so much like a larger than life place. It's
Right.
really not when you go through it. It's just a street with a bunch of ads everywhere.
Oh,
and a bunch of
100%.
billboards.
Because about the time Eric asked me, so what'd you think? And I was literally sitting there like, that was it?
Yeah, I'm better at Boston than New York.
Yeah.
Once they got rid of the Fun Factory at 5 Points, like there's really nothing worth seeing in the city.
That was a brewery.
No, it was a abandoned building that was graffiti tagged all over. You ever see like the old Wild style graffiti tag? It was a big part of like the old hip hop documentary. It came from that building. If you look up on like the highest tower, there's a big thing that said "Made You Look" up there. If you liked New York graffiti culture or graffiti culture like in general, it was like the prime spot in the world. And it was legal to do because they essentially they're like, hey, play here. It was like Amsterdam in The Wire, but for graffiti artists. Play here. This way you're not bothering all the other buildings. But then developers, of course, bought it up and then whitewashed everything, and it's no longer there.
Oh.
come to Oakland. We've got plenty of graffiti for you. Actually, there's an amazing like community of graffiti artists here. There's obviously like shitty graffiti, but there's a lot of really amazing graffiti. There's all these like ruins up in the hills where we go hiking sometimes, and there are artists that go up there and just like do these incredible murals. And there's some by my house as well that are really amazing. But I mean, when I
here's
went
the thing,
to
Rachel, you think I want murals? Like, I'm from a city where our biggest piece of graffiti was Boner Forever, and somebody made a goddamn jersey about it like 2 weeks ago, and is considered a local legend. Now, I'm not looking for art; I'm looking for trash.
Oh, well, we have that too. Good news. No, I mean, I only was in New York for a couple of days and I didn't get to do all that much. But like, everyone's like, go to the museums, go to the museums. And I was like, well, it's hot. Fuck it. I'll go to the museums. And honestly, go to the museums. I had an amazing time. Like, I verbally out loud said, wow, multiple times inside the Met. So if you're going to go to New York, what's up?
You would have been dead in this movie.
Yeah, don't go to the Met in the Quiet Place, New York. I'll tell you that, because you're going to come around and see a mural and say, wow, and die. But yeah, I would go back. I like New York. It was great. I want to see more of it. Apparently, I need to go to Times Square.
It's lovely. Is that it, Casey?
That is it.
All right, we only got 2 questions. Oh, no, maybe 3. What's a major city that you'd like to see a day 1 alien invasion movie set in?
Prague.
Oh, interesting. I was thinking in the U.S., but that's a good answer. I was going to say Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas would be good. I mean, because the thing is I don't know that I want to see, like, I thought of cities that are interesting and have cool architecture, but I don't know that I want to see them destroyed. Like, the first thing I thought of was, like, Edinburgh, which is amazing, but do I really want to see, so, like, but
Well,
Vegas is so cheesy.
My thought was Vegas is really weird, and there's a lot of weird people there. So, like, you have the aliens, but then you have all these characters that they encounter.
Just bloody fedoras as far as the eye could see. Although I love Vegas, so I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Maybe someplace like New Orleans or something, just because the water's such a higher factor there. Yeah. It has been through a lot. But just, I'm thinking like on the terms of, with some of their swamps and stuff like that, with the water content there would be interesting.
Dubai. How about Dubai? That would be a good one. That could be really interesting. Lots of cool architecture there.
Oh, I could see them holding up on those man-made islands and breaking them off the mainland and go floating off for safety, right?
Yeah. Some, like, I don't know, alien action on the Burj Khalifa. That could be... my answer is Dubai.
I like
Are the
that.
female
remember reading an
aliens
article
allowed
once-
to be alone?
What?
I said, are the female aliens allowed to be alone in Dubai?
In Dubai. Yeah, because the expats, like, people from other places can do whatever they want there, pretty much.
Yeah.
Except incur debt, because then you go to prison. I also read an article there once about how you can't really go swimming in the ocean there because it's filled with sewage, because they just dump sewage in the ocean.
Ugh.
Yikes.
Good times. All right.
Species.
Rewatched Yellow Brick Road on Shudder. Think you'll ever do an episode on it? I get this all the time. The answer's probably no. Because I don't want John to not like it. Sometimes I'm too close to it.
I actually watched it for the first time a couple weeks ago because it just showed up on Shudder, and I was impressed. That was a good movie.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's an interesting movie. I feel like I need to rewatch it. I saw it when it first came out. I think and I don't know that I was ready for it at that point, so I need to watch it again.
Haven't seen it recently. I honestly don't know for sure how Schnars would land. I could see him liking some aspects of it, but I could also see him be annoyed by the camera work.
I mean, I remember it being pretty challenging because of the soundscape in it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I've never seen it, so I assume it's about
Well,
Wizard of Oz.
we'll wait. Go ahead. We'll sit here and wait. Go watch it.
Munchkin Slaughters.
Munchkin Slaughters.
Yeah.
Last question of the evening. Rewatched Yellow Brick Road on Shudder. Jaws. Do you
Time is
consider
a flat circle.
Do you consider Jaws a 4th of July movie?
Hell yeah.
Sure.
I think so. Yeah, I'll buy that.
Absolutely.
I'll buy
In
that
the
for
same way that
$1.
like Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Sure, why not?
It's just
Yeah.
a great like. It's a really great summer movie, like all around. I would say too.
Then watch
Same
The
thing with
Bay.
Return of the Living Dead. Like I don't always watch it on July 3rd, but man, as soon as it's like start feeling summery, I get in that Return of the Living Dead mood.
Yeah. Speaking of Jaws, our friend Tommy posted on Slack today. There's a new Lego set coming out of Jaws, and it looks freaking amazing. Comes with the boat and the shark and Quint and everybody.
Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Next week, it is time for Maxine.
Isn't it technically Max?
Or Max 616. Yeah. So, don't sound too excited, guys.
I'm excited.
I'm
I'm
hyped.
actually
I'm trying
really
to read
excited. I'm
Rachel's-
like mentally cataloging all of the things in that movie, and I cannot wait to hear you talk about them.
It's why, I mean, it seems like just by virtue of having a large cast and not being a little, you know, cloistered like pandemic movie, it's going to be so different from the other ones. And I'm pretty
It's
interested.
very different than the other
Yeah.
movies, for sure. In the same way that Pearl is very different than X. Like,
It is, but it still feels small, whereas this feels like a lot
oh
bigger.
yeah. For sure. Although the cast is, it's still pretty. It's pretty insular. It's interesting. It's pretty. I don't know.
I just
I'm
want a
excited.
sleazy neo-noir with like nods to Angel and New York Ripper, and I will be
Yes.
happy.
Yeah.
It is like, as someone who has a very big soft spot for like the erotic thrillers of the 70s and 80s, like
Man,
it's very that.
New York Ripper's
That
like-
is
New-
Joe's
New
especially.
York Ripper's a wild one. New York Ripper's one of those movies, like, I think that was the first movie that I watched that I was like, oh, Fulci might be like an actual deviant. is what I
doesn't
felt
go-
like coming out of that movie.
That far, but it like
Okay.
it plays in that sort of playground. There's a Buster Keaton scene that I'm especially keen for everyone to see.
Interesting.
Nice.
All right, well, that's what we're doing. So tune in. People won't hear this until Friday, but I hope everybody has a happy, healthy 4th and doesn't get accosted by too many fireworks. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you then.
Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye-bye.